pretty confident here.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Today, we are taking a stand on mowers. Our project is the professional folding mower, and our members are Deanne Robinson, Adam Cashy, David McCullough, and myself. Chad Dennis came to Dr. Bacher with an issue he was having with his company, and that was an inefficient mowing method. So what that means is this is a typical standing mower that they would use. And it's a great mower, but like Superman, it has its kryptonite, which is a fence. So this big mower couldn't fit in the backyards or in a fenced area. So our problem as engineers was a simple one, designing a mower to fit through a small gate. Part of the mower's needs are one, a 52 to 60-inch mower should be able to fit through a standard 39-inch gate. It should be easy to maintain and repair. For example, if a belt breaks, the operator should go to the truck, get a belt, put it back on, go back to work. And three, the mower needs to be fast in operation. Time is money. So loading and unloading, raising and lowering the deck, and the cutting. And today we're going to talk about three topics: benchmarks, research, and concepts. And to start it off, Leanne's going to talk about benchmarks.
Great. Morning. I used to work in lawn care, and I used sorry, wrong button. And used mowers, and so I went out and I found some of these stand-on mowers. I used to walk behind, and I understand what the benefit is of these. The walk-behind mowers were created to fill a niche in the market between a homeowner and people who are mowing things like golf courses. Because the walk-behind, the sit-on mowers are really heavy, they take up a lot of room on the trailer. The advantage of a walk-behind mower was you could go a lot faster. Well, then in 1996, this guy, Bill Wright, had this great idea, well, why don't we, instead of having a walk-behind, make it a stand-on mower, and that way we can go even faster, and we still have this slight compact model. So these are 6 brands that are on the market today, and I just went through and I visually inspected all the specs on all of them, and as Adam can tell you, I get very excited. I found them incredibly fascinating. But the thing that was in common with all these mowers, they are incredibly similar. They all have a 23 horsepower Kawasaki engine. They all have about the same size gas tank. They all are all 0 turn radius mowers. They are all the same speeds. They're all the same kind of blades. They're all the same cutting heights. Manufacturers have basically taken their walk-behind mowers and they've just modified them to make stand-on mowers, and which is great. But there's only about a 100-pound difference between all of these. The only real difference in these mowers is the configurations and the paint jobs. There's not a whole lot going on. The reason we want to have a stand-on mower is there's better visibility. You can see what you're mowing a lot easier. Your center of gravity is closer to the mower's center of gravity, which makes it a whole lot safer to use. You can use it a lot quicker. It's a lot safer because you can step on and off quickly if something happens, if you get in a situation that's dangerous. It's also lighter and more compact than a seated mower. And like I was saying with those walk-behinds that had the belt keys, when you're trying to load those things and unload them, they're really dangerous and painful. You can bash in the knees a couple times by them, and you can't back up. So the stand-on mower really fills this need that professional mowers who mow homes need. It's not for a homeowner. They're not built homeowners typically don't want them. But the shock is absorbed instead of a sit-on mower, where it's absorbed by your spine all day, and if you're doing it for 8 to 12 hours a day, you don't want that. The shock is absorbed by your knees and your feet. And so, when we did talk to people, we interviewed people who own shops that sell these mowers. We interviewed, obviously, lots of landscape guys who use these mowers themselves. We talked to people who repair these things. And they all said the same thing. They would love to have a mower like this that will go through a gate. Because these stand-on mowers are extremely efficient, they're extremely useful, they're very productive. And so there was a great deal of interest in that. But the big concern was, how are you going to keep those pulleys from coming off? And so that's our big issue, is how do we make this thing more efficient, more effective, so that we can use it and not have to worry about the pulleys, dislocating themselves on a regular basis. So, in a nutshell, that's what I got.
All right, I'm David McCullough. I was just going to talk about some of the patents. When going through the patents for this design, there are hundreds. We literally have 2 3-ring binders full of patents that, just basically covering this. This one's just kind of showing you a patent on a folding deck system. I mean, our design, none of them really infringe on this, but I'm just showing you the example. There's hundreds of these out there. Everybody has different ideas, doing different things. Some of them are really complex and crazy, not feasible at all. So, I mean, there's some really crazy things out there. Right here, you can see this system right here wouldn't be cost efficient at all. So, if you're trying to get a mower and keep it where a homeowner can get it to mow their yard and a landscape company, you got to kind of think about cost, because not everybody knows making $1 million a year. So, this is an articulating deck. We're actually looking into this, maybe an improvement on our design that we're going with right now. It's just kind of showing you some stuff like that. And a lot of the systems, they all tend to use this chain. So it's kind of just making us think, they were all kind of developed around the same time. There's a lot of improvements that could be made on these. So if we did come across any infringements, it seems like a lot of them are outdated and the new technology could replace that. So it's just a couple more. This is a belt system that actually drives the blades. When it folds up that way, it's still going to stay on the pulley, or the system. Well, that's kind of what our design is going for. So that was just kind of showing you that. But like I said, there's millions of them out there. It's a lot of research, and you just got to kind of cover your own behind, I guess is the word. Like I said, just keeps going. There's hundreds. So the designs. We each had a concept that we designed to fit this problem. We were trying to get a mower that would go through a 39-inch gate and would be able to cover a spread from, like we said, 52 to 62 inches, which really can be done in a lot of ways. This is concept A. This is actually a rotating deck. So the deck would, actually rotate. It would go into this position, and then once you wanted to get through the gate, and you're on the other side, you would rotate it out to cover the large spread. It's a pretty good system. It's got a belt drive system. I mean, that makes it easy to service. Say, belt messes up, you can go get it at the store, place it, you're operational again. But in loading and unloading, it's kind of long, if you think about it. The deck's going to have to rotate, so when it's in this position, putting it on a trailer, it's going to take up, it's going to take up some room. The next system is concept B. This system has a motor that actually will drive each blade. Well, as you can see, that would be kind of expensive. And then if a motor goes out, you're not going to be able to just change it out like a belt. It's going to have some service that's going to have to be done to it. So that kind of takes away from the ease of maintenance. This, concept C, it is a belt-driven system. It uses a hydraulic piston to raise and lower the deck. It would work, but back to the thing. If this messes up, then you're kind of stuck. How are you going to get through a gate with a 52-inch spread and 39-inch gate? It's just not going to work. So that's really one of the constraints of that. This is concept D. This uses a flexible shaft-driven system, which really would have to have a lot of research. We don't know if they make a flexible shaft that would be able to put out for this, would actually be able to meet the requirements for it. So that would go in. It actually doesn't have a system in place to raise and lower the deck, so that would also have to be generated for this. And finally, we have concept E, the hot rod of mowers. It is really nice and pretty. A lot of times went into this. I'm not going to talk about it too much because Adam's going to give you a real in-depth look into it. But it's a belt-driven system. This is a winch right here. This winch will actually raise and lower this deck. And like I said, he's going to give you all the goodies on this one, so I don't want to spoil it. But, yeah.
So, I got it here.
I didn't know you did it. I thought I pressed the button. I was like, whoa, what's going on?
Okay, so here's our mower needs importance, and we've numbered it from 1 to 15, and we have our criteria for each thing that we need. And we base this off of our expert survey, experience, and our collaborated opinions. And so 1 through 5, 5 being the best, or the most important. In screening our designs, what we did was we put a weight on each importance, 5 being the heaviest or the one with the highest weight. And then we ranked each concept as a group. And then we multiplied it by our weight. And from there, we have a score, and we totaled our score and ranked each concept. And from there, we could see that we obviously took ideas from the first 4 concepts and combined them, and to follow through with concept D, which is our final design.
So on our final design, Mr. Dennis had some really good ideas that we took a few off of. We combined most of our projects into the same one. David said you've got the winch, that it would go up to a pulley or ring system going over to the sides of the deck. It's a lot similar to this mock-up. Instead of a arm, it would just be a winch on the front that would raise and lower it using the weight of the deck to come down. The internal resistance of the winch stops the deck from falling and banging and stuff. The person would ride right behind there. The motor is a 23 horsepower Kawasaki. There's pretty much no body arguing about that. Everybody in the industry uses a 23 horsepower Kawasaki. The deck raising system, I did this really simply, but it's not patentable. Several companies have the exact same system, and it's just very simple. Here's some front and side, or here's a view as you're sitting on the back of it with the decks lowered and raised. The pulleys, to cover with the ease of maintenance and staying onto the same track, when the deck is raised, the deck is lowered, it has a sheath the belt sits into, and when the deck raises up, the belt just stays where it is because of the sheath. That was a major design consideration that we had to take some thought into. It's got a 15-gallon gas tank mounted above the center of the frame. The majority of the weight's on the center of the wheels. And here we have some just an idea of the caster to go on the side to keep it from hitting bumps on the side of the. Here's a see-through design for the raising and lowering. You reach through the overall housing of the motor and grab the raising arm. It pulls straight through here, causing the little L-beam to raise and lower the deck.
So let's recap. Today we've talked about what's on the market, we've searched patents, we've surveyed experts, and we've shown you how we came up with our design by screening. and we talked about final design features. So we are the lawnmower crew, and we're taking a stand on mowers. Any questions?
I have a question for Ricky. When you were doing a survey on the current mowers, you mentioned the Kawasaki 23 horsepower. You haven't come across a Briggs & Stratton?
Honestly, when I was looking at all the I looked at a 52-inch mower, and that's what I looked at across the board. With one exception, they were all 23 horsepower. I mean, there was a 19 horsepower that was used by one company. I take that back. John Deere used 24 horsepower, but
The one
23
Kawasaki?
horsepower. That was all Kawasaki. They all used Kawasaki. It was interesting. They all used the same system for the hydraulics. They all used the same engine. They all used the. It's like they perfected. This is what the mower is, and all they've really done differently is they may have a different system for raising a mower in the deck. They may have a different configuration of how you actually operate the mower, but there's so little that's actually different about these mowers other than the paint job and just basic layout. They are very, very similar, but again, they've just taken a mower that they've had and they've modified it to make it a stand-on mower and then just beefed it up a little bit.
I bet the service people like that.
They really do, because it's a standardization of parts. It's something that they're already used to working on. It's, like I said, service people love it. The guys that actually own them and use them to work with, they love it as well. Like I said, having used a walk behind it, having used one of those Velkeys, you can't back up on them because the way you're standing behind it on this little sulky, you can't back up. You can't load it that way. You have to figure out some way to put that Velke up. And like I said, I've been banged in the knees so many times by that thing trying to load it on the mower. It's not safe to do a walk behind that way. You can't do that. And the sitting mowers aren't really efficient for landscape. You know, whenever you're trying to go around things, sure, if you're just doing wide open, flat out, a sit-on's great, it goes faster, but whenever this is a stand-on mower is an extremely efficient tool for mowing small areas that have a lot of curves and bumps and dips and hills and sides. And the problem is, though, is you can't get them through the gates. They don't make them small enough to go through gates. And since most people have a bigger backyard than a front yard, and front yards tend to be a little more plain, you know, the backyards would be the pretty stuff and the trees and such. These guys would love to buy one of these machines, but they don't want to invest in it because they can't use it in the places they'd really like to be able to use it.
Any questions?
Are there any limitations on the slope?
The slope?
Yeah, do you go on the slope because of these
Oh.
extensions?
You talking about like on a hill?
Yeah, hills.
Yeah, there's, from what they have right now, they already have them like that. So the only thing that's different from ours is it can fit through a fence. So they already have, 60-inch mowers or 52-inch mowers with the actual width of it. They're not able to fold.
And because you're standing on the mower, you actually have a lot of control because you can lower yourself, you can lean, you can put a lot into controlling the mower, and you can do a much steeper slope than you think you can. You don't go straight up and down, you go at an angle.
And then another thing with the slope, if you do get out of control, like if you're on a sitting one, you're going over with that mower.
Right.
A standing one, you just jump right off and let it go.
Seriously,
Yeah.
it is. It makes a big difference.
I want to vouch for that. I actually flipped a lawnmower on me one time, and it chipped my elbow and gasoline pulled my arm. It's not that safe.
And also, we are not making a major redesign of the frame, motor, controls, all that stuff. Our interest in this mower is the deck and how it's to fit through the gate. We are using pretty much standard parts. There's not very much different about our mower. You can take stand-on mowers over, a curb? They took, Wright takes a standing mower on their website over a 6 or 8 inch curb and has no problem with it.
Like I said, being on the mower, being part of the mower, you have a lot of control over it, and you're not sitting up high on it, you're down in there, and your center of gravity is so close to the mower center of gravity, it really gives you, as the operator, a lot of control and a lot of confidence and safety. And you're one with the mower.
Thank you.
Another question? Thank you.
This bad boy.
Oh, when it fits in a golf,
How's the durability of your mower?
Yeah, the durability, we're working on that.
Yeah,
Made in
it's
China.
not the best.
We got that imported.
China.